Hey friends, I'm Sarah and welcome back to Thrills and Kills Booktube, where we read everything dark and spooky. Today I'm talking about my top 10 most anticipated horror and thriller new releases for 2023. It is going to be such a good year. I feel like in the last few years we've really seen sort of like a resurgence of the horror genre, and 2023 it seems like it's going to be its best year yet. So usually when I try to find what's coming out in the next year or so, I start looking on NetGalley to see if there's any arcs I'm interested in, or I'll go to the websites of certain publishers. So when it's horror, I usually go to Tor Nightfire's website and see what they have coming out. But also I just found scrolling through Instagram to be a really great way. There's actually a few thrillers on this list that I found out because someone on Instagram had received an arc and they were posting their review of the book. So there are many books that I'm excited for next year. It was really hard just to whittle this down to 10, but in trying to not make this a 30-minute video, I really wanted to stick to my top 10. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with January and tell you the publication date, the author, and why I'm excited for each of these books. All right, in January, there are 3 books I am excited for. First up, we have on January 17th, I don't even know how I came across this book. I think I might have actually been on Amazon and it suggested it to me, but this is called The 12th Commandment by Daniel Torday. And like I said, it comes out on January 17th. When I read the description, I was getting real Devil in Ohio vibes. So if you've ever watched that series on Netflix, and it's about a religious cult, sort of like the M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village. So anyways, let me just read you the description and I think it'll make a lot more sense. Swirling with secrets and their consequences and exploring how revelation and redemption might be accessed through sin and driven through twists and turns toward a startling conclusion, The 12th Commandment is a brilliant novel by author Daniel Torday. The Donme sect, I'll put the word up here. I'm not quite sure how to say that. The Donme sect, a group of Jewish Islamic adherents with ancient roots, lives in an isolated community on rural land outside of small town Mount Ismer, Ohio. Self-sustaining, deeply religious, and heavily armed, they have followed their self-proclaimed prophet, Nathan of Flatbush, from Brooklyn to this new land. But the brutal murder of Nathan's teenage son throws their tight community into turmoil. Zeke Legger, a 30-year-old writer at a national magazine, arrives from New York for the funeral of a friend, and he becomes intrigued by the case and begins to report on the murder. His college girlfriend prosecuted the case and believes it's closed. Before he knows it, Zeke becomes entangled in the conflict between the Donme, suspicious local citizens, his ex-girlfriend, and the law, with dangerous implications for his body and soul. The reviews are kind of all over the place on Goodreads. Some people say they love it, but then I'm seeing a fair amount of 2 stars. So, we'll see. Like I said, it's giving me real Devil in Ohio vibes. It's obviously about some kind of a religious cult. I tend to enjoy books about that, so I'm hoping I'll like it. Okay, our next book. This comes out on January 23rd, and this is my most anticipated read for all of 2023. At least currently. Oh, I'm so excited. And this is Craig DeLuey's episode 13. So I also own Suffer the Children and The Children of Red Peak, but this new book has to do with paranormal investigations, specifically paranormal investigations that have gone wrong. And I love that stuff, especially if I'm sick and I'm just hanging out on the couch, I love to put on some sort of cheesy paranormal investigation show and just binge watch it. Recently I've actually been watching, it's on Netflix, Skinwalker Ranch out in Utah. And it's they're making all this stuff up and a lot of this is just pure acting and scripted, but something about it is just still so interesting. So I am really looking forward to reading this book, as well as Craig DeLuey is just such a great author. Someone who's in a reading Discord that I'm in posted that she had an arc, and I am very, very jealous. So in this book, we've got a ghost hunting reality TV crew. It says they've gained unprecedented access to an abandoned and supposedly haunted mansion and promises a groundbreaking 13th episode. But as they uncover the secret history of the house, they learn that reality TV might be all too real. So Fade to Black is the name of this TV show in this book. It says it's a new ghost hunting reality TV show led by husband and wife team Matt and Claire. It features a dedicated crew of ghost hunting experts. Episode 13 takes them to Matt's Holy Grail, the Paranormal Research Foundation. This crumbling, derelict mansion holds secrets and clues about the bizarre experiments that took place there in the 70s. But it's also haunted, and Matt hopes to use their scientific techniques and high-tech gear to prove it. It says it's actually kind of like an epistolary. I don't know if the entire book is, but it says that it's got tapes, journals, correspondence, and research files. Oh, I'm so excited. My favorite book of all time is Shirley Jackson's The Haunting of Hill House, and that was a paranormal team that was setting up there to try and figure out if it was haunted. And we'll talk about another book here in a second that also had to do with the paranormal investigation that I loved. So this is like my favorite type of horror subgenre to read. Okay, next up on January 24th, and I'm a little bit confused why this is coming out in January rather than October, because this is a book having to do with Halloween. So this is All Hallows by Christopher Golden. He's a great author. He's written things like Ararat, Red Hands, and then I own a copy and have read Road of Bones, and I really enjoyed that book. So I'm hoping that this holds up to his previous works, but again, this has to do with Halloween. Not sure why it's coming out in January, but I'll read about Halloween any time of the year. So I know that there are some creepy kids in this book, and I've read some good books and some bad books about creepy kids, so we'll have to see how this one goes. And the description, the blurb on Goodreads says that this is having like nostalgic Stranger Things 1980s vibes. Ooh. Follows a neighborhood of families in a mysterious lurking evil on a Halloween day. 1984, Coventry, Massachusetts. Two families are unraveling. Up and down the street, horrifying secrets are being revealed, and all the while, mixed in with the trick-or-treaters, 4 children who do not belong are walking door to door, merging with the kids of Parmenter Road. Children in vintage costumes with faded, eerie makeup. They seem terrified and beg the neighborhood kids to hide them, to keep them safe from the cunning man. Ooh, now there's a small clearing in the woods that just popped up out of nowhere, was not there before, and a tree that wasn't there before. These odd children claim that the cunning man is coming for them, and they want the local kids to protect them. It says, in this suburban Halloween drama, Golden brings the horror home. All Hallows, the one night when everything is in a mask. You know what? January and February, I feel like, at the worst time of the year because it's cold. At least where I live, we don't get the pretty snow. We get the ugly slush. We get freezing rain. It's just like it's such drudgery. The holidays are over and there's nothing to look forward to. So I don't care that this is a Halloween book coming out in January. I'm just excited to have something to look forward to. That's the 3 books I'm excited for in January. Let's move on to February. Interestingly enough, these 2 books in February, I've already read them. I got ARCs on NetGalley, and I loved both of these books. These are both a solid 4-star for me. So first up on January 3rd, we've got Gothic by Philip Percassi. Gothic follows Tyson, who is a horror writer that has seen better days. And he is living in this fancy townhouse in Manhattan. He's paying for his college daughter's tuition at Brown. He's got a live-in girlfriend who comes from money, and he's just kind of feeling like a failure because he hasn't written anything that's been a hit in at least a decade. He's got a lot of expenses, and he's like, crap, I need to write something good to get some money so I can keep affording this lifestyle. And his birthday's coming up, and his live-in girlfriend, in an effort to sort of like rejuvenate him and kind of get the creative juices flowing and help him, she buys him this beautiful, ornate, very old writing desk. Now, unbeknownst to both of them, this desk is actually a cursed object. But what happens is Tyson is immediately drawn into this desk. He is spending 12, 14, 16 hours a day in his office at this desk, not even getting up to eat, to drink, to pee. He's typing away so much, writing a new book, that his fingernails are cracking and his fingers are bleeding, and he's having to put band-aids on all of his fingers. And he is writing faster, better, and darker than he's ever done before. And his editor, the publishing house, they are eating it up, and they were like, oh my god, this is the best thing you've written in years, please keep it up. However, it's literally a deal with the devil, and you don't get all that if you don't give something up. And so things very quickly unravel and start going terrible all around Tyson. In the meantime, there's also a woman that we're following over in Europe, and her family, it's a very distinguished, like old money family with titles, and I think in France. But anyways, you start learning the history of previously, generations back in her family, her ancestors were witches and warlocks and partaking in the occult. And they had a stone altar that has been stolen from them. And each generation of this family has been trying to find it. They've been searching all over the globe trying to find this. And she has come into the knowledge that this stone altar has now come into Tyson's possession. And she is willing to make anything, she's willing to do anything to make it happen so that she can get this altar back. So it was very good. I enjoyed it. It reminded me of a typical like vintage 80s horror book, like an old Stephen King or Richard Lehman, something like that. It is dark. There are a few trigger warnings that if you have issues with things, I would recommend you go look that up. I don't really want to say it because I don't want to spoil anything, but I really, really enjoyed it. That's February 3rd. Then February 7th, this is The Spite House by Johnny Compton. This is a debut novel. Also a solid 4-star. I really enjoyed it. This is a Southern Gothic / haunted house / paranormal investigation. And we are following a Black family, Eric and his 2 daughters, and they are on the run. And we're not really sure why. What happened in his past? What sort of criminal activities might he or they have partaken in, but they are on the run. And he is taking any sort of odd job that he can where, you know, you'll get paid in cash under the table. No one's going to ask any questions. No one's going to want to see like identifying documentation. So he's kind of putting him and his daughters in real sketchy situations. And then one day he comes across an advertisement where there is this house called the Masson House in Texas, but it is known to be one of the most haunted houses in Texas, if not all of America. And the person who owns this house is looking for a caretaker. And he will get paid handsomely. We're talking 6 figures if he can complete this assignment. So he figures, I've got nothing to lose. I need to make a new life for me and my kids. So he applies. He gets the job. Well, come to find out, they need a live-in caretaker, but more importantly, the owner of this house is needing him to do some paranormal investigation to document evidence that this house is haunted. And funny enough, his family, it seems that he's maybe inherited some sort of, it seems like maybe he or maybe even his daughters have inherited this uncanny ability to communicate with the deceased. And so that is what draws him to this house. And it's really interesting the way that Johnny Compton writes about a haunted house, about about how a ghost may manifest, how very, very strong emotions and feelings, or if really catastrophic events are to occur in a location, how that might manifest into a haunting or paranormal activity. It really delves into a lot of different themes, mostly generational trauma, racism, losing someone that you love. So it's a fun book, but it also has some very deep themes. I did an entire book chat video about this, so I'll link it up here and down below if you're interested in learning more, but solid 4-star. I really enjoyed it. Okay, in March. Now I know I said that episode 13 was my most anticipated, so maybe this is my second most anticipated. On March 28th, we've got T. Kingfisher's newest book, A House with Good Bones. And just look at this cover. How cool is that? Now, I already own 3 of her books. And funny enough, so I live in North Carolina, and if you are to Google this author, you can figure out that she's also in North Carolina. So the Twisted Ones, the Hollow Places, like it tends to be set in North Carolina. This newest book is no different. I did read a review from someone who I follow on Instagram who also lives in North Carolina, and apparently there are just a lot of shout outs to our state, things like city names or attractions, Waffle House. So I think even Cheerwine Soda is mentioned at one point, is what this person said. So I think knowing that I enjoy her writing and I enjoy a good horror novel, I think that's going to just bring an extra level of enjoyment for me. It's already getting 4-star ratings on Goodreads, and Goodreads has to say that this is a haunting Southern Gothic. Explores dark, twisted roots lurking just beneath the veneer of a perfect home and family. Mom seems off. Her brother's words echo in Sam Montgomery's ear. She turns onto the quiet North Carolina street where their mother lives alone. Sam is excited for this rare extended visit and looking forward to nights with just the two of them, drinking boxed wine, watching murder mystery shows, and guessing who the killer is long before the characters figure it out. I want siblings like that. I want to live in that family. That sounds so fun. But stepping inside, they quickly realize home isn't what it used to be. Gone is the warm, cluttered charm her mom is known for. Now the walls are painted a sterile white. Mom jumps at the smallest noises and looks over her shoulder even when she's the only person in the room. When Sam steps out back to clear her head, she finds a jar of teeth hidden beneath the magazine-worthy rose bushes, and vultures are circling the garden from above. To find out what's got her mom so frightened in her own home, Sam will go digging for the truth, but some secrets are better left buried. I don't know if this is a general East Coast thing, but here in North Carolina, we have so many turkey vultures. They're all over the freaking place. You drive down the highway and you just see them all over the place. So that doesn't surprise me that they would have turkey vultures in their front yard. So that's House of Good Bones, and that comes out March 28th. All right, and then in April, I've got 2 other books. So this next one, I also have an arc of this. I haven't read it. I'll probably wait until March to get to it. And this is The Haunting of Alejandra by V. Castro. And this is sort of a retelling or reimagining or heavily borrowing from the Mexican folklore tale La Llorona. This is getting pretty decent reviews on Goodreads already as well. A woman is haunted by Mexican folk demon La Llorona as she unravels the dark secrets of her family history in this ravishing and provocative horror novel. Alejandra no longer knows who she is. To her husband, she is a wife, and to her children, a mother. To her own adoptive mother, she's a daughter, but they cannot see who Alejandra has become. A woman struggling with the darkness that threatens to consume her. Nor can they see what Alejandra sees. In times of despair, a ghostly vision appears to her, the apparition of a crying woman in a ragged white gown. When Alejandra visits a therapist, she begins exploring her family's history, starting with the biological mother she never knew. As she goes deeper into the lives of the women in her family, she learns that heartbreak and tragedy are not the only things she has in common with her ancestors, because the crying woman was with them too. Ooh, she will not leave until Alejandra follows her mother, grandmother, and all the women who came before her into the darkness. Ooh. So obviously there's going to be some heavy themes there. I did read a review on NetGalley where someone said there were multiple trigger warnings. So again, go look those up if you have any concerns. And I just think from reading that description, it's pretty clear that this book is going to dive into some of the heavier sides of parenting, specifically motherhood, feeling like you've lost yourself. I don't know if maybe there's some postpartum depression or anxiety or psychosis that this might touch on. I'm getting that vibe from the description. Ooh, that sounds so interesting. All right, and then next we've got a thriller. So this is April 24th, and Taylor Adams is releasing a new book. So he's the author of No Exit. This is coming out again on April 24th, and this is called The Last Word. I really enjoy his stuff. He's also written Hairpin Bridge. I enjoyed that book. I really enjoyed No Exit. The book, in my opinion, was so much better than the Hulu adaptation. They just changed a lot of stuff, and even some major details, but also a lot of minor details. And I don't know why they changed it, because it didn't further the plot. It actually made it worse, in my opinion. Anyways, The Last Word. And I think this is really interesting. Being someone who writes reviews of books online and obviously makes these videos, if you really don't enjoy a book, I don't know, there's just always an awkward feeling, because if someone put a lot of work into a novel, I want them to be successful. Even if I don't like the book, I still want good things for them and I want them to be successful, but I'm not gonna lie and say I like something when I didn't. So I'm always myself and I give my honest opinion. But anyways, you'll see where I'm going with this in a second. So it says that after posting a negative book review, a woman living in a remote location begins to wonder if the author is a little touchy or very, very dangerous in this pulse-pounding novel of psychological suspense and terror. Emma Carpenter lives in isolation with her golden retriever, Leica, house-sitting an old beachfront home on the rainy Washington coast. Her only human contact is her old neighbor, Deke, and via text, the house owner, Jules. One day, she reads a poorly written but gruesome horror novel by the author H.G. Cain and posts a 1-star review that drags her into an online argument with none other than the author himself. Soon after, disturbing incidents start to occur at night. To Emma, this can't just be coincidence. It was strange enough for this author to bicker with her online about a lousy review. Could he be stalking her too? As Emma digs into Kane's life and work, she learns he has published 16 other novels, all similarly sadistic tales of stalking and murder. But who is he and how did he find her? What else is he capable of? Oh, that sounds so fun. It sounds so fun. Taylor Adams he's such a good author. I discovered him in 2021 and I am just so excited that I discovered his books because I have not read anything bad by him yet. All right, moving into May. This is another thriller, and I found out about this by just scrolling through Instagram, and someone had posted it. They had an arc. So this is called Adrift. It's coming out on May 9th, and the author is Lisa Brideau. The truth doesn't always set you free. S wakes up alone on a sailboat in the remote Pacific Northwest with no memory of who she is or how she got there. She finds a note, but it's more warning than comfort. Start over, don't make yourself known, and don't look back. S must have answers. She sails over a turbulent ocean to a town hundreds of miles away she hopes that might offer some insight. The chilling clues she uncovers point to a desperate attempt at erasing her former life. But why? And someone is watching her, someone who knows she must never learn her truth. In S's world, the Earth is precariously balanced at a climate tipping point, and she is perched at the edge of a choice. Which life does she want? The one taken from her and the dangerous secret that was buried? Or the new one she can make for herself? Says that this is a sharp, character-driven odyssey. It's getting actually really good reviews, and other than that one person on Instagram, I haven't seen anybody talk about this anywhere. So that is interesting. I've never read a book that took place on a sailboat or had to do with a thriller relating with climate change. I don't know, that is something new for me. I think that'll be really interesting. All right, so then I didn't find anything in June, so we're skipping over June and going straight to July. On July 18th, this is also, so count this as like my third most anticipated book. We have a new book from Silvia Moreno Garcia, and this is called Silver Nitrate. If you're not familiar with her, she's written Mexican Gothic, as well as some other books. That's one of her most well-known. I know this one has to do with the occult, and it takes place in Mexico City. I really love reading books that have to do with the occult, and Mexico City is one of my favorite places I've ever visited in my life. My friend on here, Michelle, from Michelle's Melancholia, I believe is from Mexico City. It's a beautiful place. And I feel like this is going to sound like a sponsored post to go visit Mexico City, but it is nicer than Paris. I'm telling you, I went there in 2019, and I also went to Paris in 2019, and I felt safer in Mexico City. It was cleaner, it was less noisy, the food was better, the people were nicer, like everything about it. It was much better than Paris. I've been to Paris many times. I've been to London. I've been all over the world, and Mexico City is one of my favorite places to visit. If you are a foodie, that is the place to go. It has some of the best restaurants in the whole world, and we visited lots of restaurants while we were there that, like, if you were to look like a top 50 restaurant in the world list, there's probably 5 of them that are in Mexico City, and we visited a good number of them. Okay. Now that you know about Mexico City, let's talk about the book. So Silvia Moreno Garcia, she's written Mexican Gothic, and she's also written The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, which is this hot pink book down here. I haven't gotten to that yet. And now she's coming out with this new one called Silver Nitrate. So it says that this is a fabulous mix of Mexican horror movies, Nazi occultism, and a dark thriller. It's about a curse that haunts a legendary lost film. Oh, I also love that trope. Awakens one woman's hidden powers. Montserrat has always been overlooked. She's a talented sound editor, but she's left out of a boys' club running the film industry in 1990s Mexico City. She's all but invisible to her best friend Tristan, a charming, if faded, soap opera star. Oh, this is going to be so fun, especially if you've ever seen like a telenovela, like a Mexican soap opera. They're so fun. She's been in love with him since childhood. Then Tristan discovers his new neighbor is the cult horror director Abel Ureta. I'm sorry, Michelle. I know I'm mispronouncing everything. I took French. I didn't take Spanish.
And the legendary author claims he can change their lives, even if his tale of a Nazi occultist imbuing magic into highly volatile silver nitrate stock sounds like sheer fantasy. The magic film was never finished, which is why Ureta swears his career vanished overnight. He is now cursed, and the director wants Montserrat and Tristan to help him shoot the missing scene and lift the curse. But Montserrat soon notices a dark presence following her, and Tristan begins seeing the ghost of his ex-girlfriend. As they work together to unravel the mystery of the film and the obscure occultist who once roamed their city, Montserrat and Tristan may find that sorcerers and magic are not only the stuff of movies. Oh, that sounds so good. So it's Mexico City, which I love, occult, which I love books about the occult or like people who are involved in the occult. It's sort of like a lost film, found footage type of a thing. That sounds so good. I'm really interested in learning about World War II and the Holocaust. So we've got that piece, but also I'm getting like night film vibes, which, where do I have it? It's down there. I can't reach it. But Night Film is one of my favorite books of all time, and it's about a really weird director of these like cult classic underground horror movies and thrillers, kind of like an Alfred Hitchcock sort of a thing. So this book just sounds so good. And there are not really any reviews yet because no one's even gotten a copy, I don't believe yet. Okay, now my last final anticipated read for 2023. This technically came out in 2021. However, it is being republished with Tor Nightfire. So this is Philip Percassi's Boys in the Valley. So he got 2 books on this list. He got Gothic, which is coming out in February, and Boys in the Valley, which is being republished. And this is coming out July 11th. I believe this was actually his debut novel. St. Vincent's Orphanage for Boys, turn of the century in a remote valley in Pennsylvania. Here, under the watchful eyes of several priests, 30 boys work and learn and worship. They live their lives in a methodical way and get along despite different personalities and pasts. Peter Barlow is orphaned by a nighttime murder at his childhood home. Oh no, Peter. He's made a new life here. As he approaches adulthood, he has friends, a future, and family. But then, late one stormy night, a group of men arrive at their door, one of whom is badly wounded. His body is covered with occult symbols. Yes, I love occult books. Upon his death, an ancient evil is released that infests St. Vincent's and the children within. Soon, boys begin acting differently, forming groups, taking sides. Others turn up dead. Oh, this is giving me like Lord of the Flies. Now Peter and those dear to him must choose sides of their own, each of them knowing their lives and perhaps their eternal souls are at risk. Oh, that sounds so good. Oh, it's got good reviews. Like right here, so on Goodreads, Mother Horror from Nightworms, she actually said that this is the scariest coming of age horror I've read since Stephen King's It. 100 pages or so into this book, and it is all horror all the time. Oh, this sounds so good. Someone said one of the best books I've read this year. It says, think Stephen King's Carrie on prom night. Absolutely caked in the stuff. Very bloody. Yes! And he did such a good job with Gothic that I'm so excited for this. Style, substance, terror, heart, violence, and some kind of unique electricity that shoots this monster full of life. I'm not seeing anything bad about it. Someone says very emotional. Oh, apparently the first run of this got sold out. That's what people are saying. It was very limited run. Okay, so that makes sense that it's being republished with Tor Nightfire. Horror and heartbreak don't let up for a minute. Every chapter just gets darker and darker until the incredibly sad yet satisfying ending. Smart, violent, and terrifying. Wow, this is getting really good. Like I'm seeing 4, 4, 4, 4, 5, 5, 5. Like it's getting really good. It's got 4.7 out of 81 ratings. That's like unheard of on Goodreads. Wow. Damn. Okay. All right, those are my top 10 most anticipated horror and thrillers coming out in 2023. 2 of them I've already read, so we're on a good track there. Please let me know down below, what are you most looking forward to in 2023? If it's not a horror thriller, doesn't matter, any genre. Let me know what books you're most anticipating for this new year. I hope you guys have had a really happy and fun and safe holiday season, and I'm wishing you all a happy new year. Bye guys.